What is this? What's happening?
The tattoo on my ring finger said, Marcello, in script I'd never seen. And the Italian man pouring espresso was calling me his wife. No memory of Monaco, no memory of saying, I do, no memory of permanently marking my skin. But his phone showed me laughing, demanding the tattoo because rings can be lost. He slid a folder across the marble. Your mentor authenticated stolen art. My 72-year-old mentor would go to prison unless I stayed. $400,000 for 1 year as his wife. But leaving destroys the only father I've known, and staying might get me killed by enemies who already know my name. But here's what made my blood run cold. This wasn't some cheap, drunk mistake. When I looked closer at that tattoo, I realized someone had spent hours on my skin while I was unconscious. Sit tight. Let me tell you how this seeming madness started. Subscribe right now because what I discovered next about that ink changed everything. The tattoo caught the morning light, delicate crown rendered in black ink with the name Marcello written in elegant Italian script underneath. This wasn't some drunk mistake at a tattoo parlor. This was professional work, expensive, intricate, the kind of tattoo that cost serious money and took serious time. How long had I been unconscious? The bedroom was equally intimidating, massive, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking what appeared to be Milan's skyline, furniture that screamed Italian design money, art on the walls that looked like actual Renaissance pieces, not prints. This wasn't a hotel room. This was someone's penthouse, someone very wealthy. I stumbled out of bed, still wearing the wrinkled cocktail dress. Where were my clothes from Monaco? I tried the door, unlocked. The hallway beyond was even more impressive. Marble floors, modern Italian design, the kind of luxury that made me feel like I'd accidentally wandered into an architecture magazine. Buongiorno, Signora Moretti. A middle-aged man appeared, wearing a steward's uniform with the air of someone who'd served wealthy families for decades. Signor Moretti asked me to ensure you had everything you needed when you woke up. How are you feeling? Signora Moretti? No, there's been a mistake. I'm Zora. Zora Richardson. I don't know who Signora Moretti is, but it's not me. The steward's expression didn't change. Perhaps you should speak with Signor Moretti. He's been waiting for you to wake up. I'll let him know you're ready. Ready for what? I don't know any Signor Moretti. I need to find my phone and find my colleagues to figure out what happened in Monaco. Your phone is charging in the salon. Your museum colleagues have been notified that you extended your stay for personal reasons. Signor Moretti will explain everything. He gestured down the hallway. Follow me! I followed because I didn't know what else to do. My head was pounding, my memory was completely gone, and I was apparently in a stranger's Milan penthouse, being called Signora Moretti with a permanent tattoo on my finger. This had to be some elaborate mistake. Maybe someone from the symposium had helped me when I was too drunk. Maybe this was a rescue, not whatever my panicking brain was imagining. The salon was as luxurious as the rest of the penthouse, and sitting by the window, reading La Repubblica with morning espresso, was a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a Caravaggio painting. Dark hair, sharp Italian features, expensive suit despite the early hour, and an air of controlled danger that made me stop in the doorway. He looked up, and his dark eyes assessed me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Zora! Good! You're awake! How's your head? How do you know my name? Who are you? Why am I here? I stayed near the doorway, ready to run if necessary. And why is your steward calling me Signora Moretti? Because that's your name now, at least legally. He set down his newspaper and stood, tall, powerfully built, moving with the kind of confidence that suggested he was used to being obeyed. I'm Marcello Moretti, and according to the Principality of Monaco, we got married 3 days ago. You don't remember? The room tilted. That's not funny. I didn't get married. I was at an art symposium. We had networking events, yes, but I would never. Let me show you something. He pulled out a tablet, brought up a video, and turned the screen toward me. This is from the Monaco civil ceremony 3 days ago, around midnight. The video showed me, definitely me, wearing a white cocktail dress I vaguely remembered packing, standing next to this man at what was clearly a Monaco courthouse. I was laughing, swaying slightly, clinging to his arm. The officiant was saying something in French about marriage and legal obligations, and then Video Me was kissing him enthusiastically while someone cheered in the background. No, that's not... I wouldn't... But it was clearly me, drunk, happy, completely unaware of what I was doing. You were very enthusiastic about the whole thing, kept saying you'd always wanted to marry someone who understood art. that Monaco was romantic, that I was the most brilliant man you'd ever met. He said it matter-of-factly, no humor in his tone. You also insisted on the tattoo, said a ring could be lost but ink was forever. Very poetic for someone who'd consumed an entire bottle of Barolo. I looked at the tattoo on my finger, the permanent mark I'd apparently demanded while blackout drunk. This isn't real. I don't remember any of this. We can just get it annulled. It's not legal if I was too drunk to consent. Actually, Monaco law is quite permissive about intoxicated civil ceremonies. As long as you could stand and sign the documents, which you clearly could in the video, the marriage is legal and binding. He crossed his arms. But you're right that we could get it annulled. That's actually why I brought you here. We need to discuss terms. Terms? What terms? I just want to undo this mistake and get back to Chicago. Not a mistake. At least not entirely. His expression remained neutral. I needed to get married quickly for business reasons. A legitimate American wife, specifically an art curator with expertise in authentication, provides certain advantages. You were drunk, willing, and perfect for my purposes, so I took advantage of the opportunity. The casual admission made my blood run cold. You're saying you deliberately married a drunk stranger for business reasons? That's not taking advantage of an opportunity. That's predatory. Call it what you want. The marriage is legal, and now I need you to stay married to me for the next year, publicly, convincingly. In exchange, I'll compensate you generously and ensure the annulment happens smoothly once I no longer need the arrangement. You're insane. I'm not staying married to you. I don't even know you. You know my name. You know I'm wealthy enough to own this penthouse. He gestured to the luxury surrounding us. That's all you need to know for now. He pulled out a leather portfolio from a side table. This is the contract I had my lawyers prepare yesterday while you were sleeping. It outlines the terms. You stay married to me for 1 year, make public appearances as my wife, convince anyone watching that we're a genuine couple. In return, you receive $50,000 a month, full access to accounts for expenses, and a guaranteed annulment with no financial obligations on your part afterward. $50,000 a month. $600,000 for 1 year. That was more than I'd make in 3 years as a museum curator. Why? Why do you need a fake wife? What kind of business requires a sham marriage? The kind that's none of your concern. Your job is to be my wife publicly, ask no questions about my business operations, and collect your compensation. Simple, straightforward, mutually beneficial. Except I don't benefit. I get dragged into whatever illegal enterprise you're running, risk my career, lie to everyone I know, and essentially become a paid actress in your criminal theater. You're not an actress, you're an art expert, which is precisely why I chose you. He pushed the portfolio across the table. Read the contract. It's all spelled out clearly. No physical intimacy required or expected. Separate bedrooms. You're simply playing a role and using your professional expertise when needed. I stared at the portfolio, then at him, then at the permanent tattoo on my finger. And if I refuse, if I just walk out of here, go to the nearest embassy and report you for whatever this is, then you'll spend the next several months dealing with Italian lawyers, Monaco jurisdiction complications, and discovery that your beloved mentor, Dr. Leonard Whitmore, authenticated a stolen Klimt painting in 1985. Nazi looted from a Jewish family in Vienna. Evidence I possess will destroy his reputation, land him in prison for art trafficking, and end your career by association. His words hit like a physical blow. You're threatening Leonard? I'm stating facts. Your mentor unknowingly authenticated stolen art 4 decades ago when he was young and trusting. The painting has since been sold 3 times for increasingly obscene amounts. The original family wants repatriation. If this information becomes public, Dr. Whitmore faces federal prosecution. You face professional ruin. His dark eyes held mine. 1 year, Zora. That's all I'm asking. Play the role, use your expertise, take the money, and then we both walk away. Is that really so terrible compared to the alternative? I wanted to say yes, it was terrible, that being forced into a fake marriage with a criminal was kidnapping, extortion, a dozen felonies. But the truth was more complicated. Dr. Whitmore had given me everything. Mentorship, recommendation, the curator position that let me escape Chicago's South Side. He was 72 years old with a heart condition. Federal prison would kill him. And my career, I authenticated art for wealthy collectors. I'd probably already worked with criminals without knowing it. $600,000 would change everything. Pay off my student loans, give me savings, let me actually breathe financially. And what was the alternative? Fight this in court for months. Spend money I didn't have on international lawyers. Watch Leonard get prosecuted for a mistake he made when he was 30. And probably lose anyway, since the marriage was technically legal. I need to think about this. Take your time. You have 24 hours to decide. He stood, clearly ending the conversation. Your clothes from Monaco are being cleaned. I've had appropriate attire brought in for you, Italian designers, your size. They're in your room. Feel free to explore the penthouse, order any food you want. The staff speaks English. Just don't attempt to leave the building until you've made your decision. So, I am a prisoner. You're a guest who needs time to consider her options carefully. There's a difference. He moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Zora, I'm not trying to ruin your life. I'm offering you an opportunity most people would kill for. This kind of money for 1 year of attending art events and looking beautiful. Try to see it as the business arrangement it is, not a personal violation. After he left, I collapsed onto the designer sofa, staring at the tattoo on my finger. How had my life gone from museum curator to fake wife of a man who was clearly involved in art crime? Because you don't need a sham American marriage for legitimate business. You need it for laundering money, avoiding prosecution, covering up criminal operations. All the things my art history degree never prepared me for. My phone, which the steward had mentioned, was indeed charging on a side table. 17 missed calls from Jasmine. 42 texts, all variations of, "Where are you?" and "Are you okay?" And increasingly panicked. The symposium ended 2 days ago. Where the hell are you? I called Jasmine, my college roommate, and the only person who knew about the symposium. Zora! Oh my God, where have you been? The museum is losing their minds. You missed your flight back. I'm okay. This is going to sound insane, but I think I got married 3 days ago to a stranger while blackout drunk in Monaco. Silence. Then, what? There's a tattoo on my finger, a marriage certificate apparently, and a very intense Italian man claiming we got married at midnight. I don't remember any of it. Zora, that's not funny. I'm not joking. I woke up in his penthouse. Joss. A literal Milan penthouse. And he's saying we're legally married, and he wants me to stay married to him for a year for business reasons. And he'll pay me $600,000. More silence. Then, okay, I'm calling the embassy. This is kidnapping. You need to get out of there now. I can't. He has evidence that would destroy Leonard. Evidence of authentication fraud from decades ago. If I refuse, he ruins Leonard's life and mine. That's extortion. That's blackmail. You're a victim here, Zora. Am I, though? I signed the marriage documents. Drunk, yes, but I signed them. The video shows me enthusiastic about the whole thing. And now he's offering me more money than I've ever seen to play a role for 1 year. Jasmine, this is insane. You're a museum curator. You can't risk your career on something like this. She was right. Of course she was right. This was insane, dangerous, potentially career-ending if anyone found out. But that tattoo on my finger was permanent, and the idea of financial freedom, of saving Leonard, of having actual security was so tempting. I have 24 hours to decide. Can I call you back? Zora! I know it's crazy. Just let me think about it. I'll call you soon, I promise. I hung up before she could argue more and spent the rest of the day exploring my gilded cage. The penthouse was as impressive as I'd initially thought. 6 bedrooms, home office with art library, wine cellar that probably cost more than my annual salary, terrace with views of Milan's Duomo, the kind of wealth I'd only seen in the collections I curated. And in what was clearly meant to be my bedroom, I found an entire wardrobe of women's clothes in my exact size. Valentino, Gucci, Prada, Dolce, and Gabbana. Everything from casual Italian chic to evening gowns suitable for museum galas. Marcello had clearly prepared for this, had planned to trap some drunk art curator into marriage, and had the infrastructure ready. That should have terrified me. Instead, I found myself trying on a dress, looking at myself in the mirror, imagining what 1 year of living like this would feel like. That evening, Marcello found me on the terrace watching the sunset over Milan's skyline. Have you made your decision? I have questions first, starting with, what kind of business requires a fake American art curator wife? The kind that involves legitimizing art acquisitions and auction house operations. My family deals in import-export. Some pieces have complicated provenances. American authentication expertise provides credibility. He sat in the chair beside me. I need a wife who can attend events, evaluate acquisitions, and make my operations appear legitimate. Import-export. That's what you're calling art theft? I prefer to think of it as rescuing masterpieces from people who don't appreciate them. He sipped his espresso. But yes, some of what I acquire isn't obtained through traditional channels. You're an art thief. I'm a collector with flexible ethics, and you're a curator who's about to become very well compensated for looking the other way. Can you promise I won't be implicated if something goes wrong? That I won't end up arrested for your crimes? I can promise you'll be kept completely separate from operations. As far as anyone knows, you're exactly what you appear to be, an American art curator who fell in love with an Italian businessman and got married impulsively in Monaco. That's the story. That's all anyone will know. What about my job? The museum will expect me back next week. You'll resign. Cite personal reasons, which is true. You got married, need time to settle into life in Italy. After 1 year, you get divorced, cite irreconcilable differences, and return to museum work with $600,000 in the bank and international experience on your resume. He made it sound so reasonable, so simple. But nothing about this was simple. If I agree, and I'm not saying I am, what exactly does being your wife entail? Attend events with me, art auctions, gallery openings, family dinners, act affectionate but professional, hold my hand, smile when people ask about our whirlwind romance, essentially sell the story that we met at the symposium and couldn't resist each other. And in private? In private, we're colleagues, polite, professional. You have your room, I have mine. We coordinate our public story, but otherwise maintain appropriate distance. This is business, Zora, not romance. I stood, needing to pace. This is insane. Everything about this is insane. I don't even know you. I don't know what you're really involved in, who your family is, what I'd actually be getting into. Then ask, right now, before you decide. Ask me anything you want to know. I stopped pacing, turned to face him. The Milan sunset behind him made him look even more dangerous. Are you a criminal? Not gray areas, not complicated business. Are you an actual criminal? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, yes. By most legal definitions, yes. I'm involved in art theft, acquisition of pieces with questionable provenance, some operations that cross into organized crime territory. I'm not a good man, Zora, but I'm an honest one, at least with you. The admission should have sent me running. Instead, I found it oddly reassuring. At least he wasn't lying, wasn't pretending to be something he wasn't. Why me? You're clearly wealthy enough to hire someone for this. Why trap a drunk curator? Because you're perfect. American, clean record, expertise in exactly the areas I need, no connections to my world, no complications. He moved closer. And because even drunk, you were brilliant, discussing Artemisia Gentileschi's use of chiaroscuro like you were personally acquainted with her. Those qualities are useful for selling a love story to skeptical auction houses. So you took advantage of a drunk woman, and now you're trying to make it sound like a compliment. I took advantage of an opportunity. I'm not claiming it's noble, just practical. He was close enough now that I could smell his cologne, expensive, subtle, bergamot, and something darker. Marcello, I need an answer. Are you doing this, or am I releasing the information about Dr. Whitmore? I looked at him. This dangerous, complicated man who'd trapped me in an impossible situation. Then I looked at the permanent tattoo on my finger, thought about Leonard in federal prison, my career destroyed, my student loans crushing me, my colleagues all moving forward while I stayed stuck. 400,000, that's my price. 400,000 for 1 year. And I want it in writing that after the annulment, you'll provide documentation that I worked as your personal art consultant. Contracts, authentication records, proof that this gap in my resume was legitimate work, not unemployment. And I want legal protection. If your operations get exposed, I'm shielded completely. 400,000 is steep. You're asking me to quit my career, lie to everyone I know, marry a man who just admitted to art theft and organized crime, and get a permanent tattoo removed that's going to cost thousands and hurt like hell. I think that's worth 400,000. He studied me for a moment, something like respect flickering in his dark eyes. Then he nodded. Deal. I'll have the contract amended tonight. You'll sign tomorrow morning, and then we begin the performance. Just like that? I agree to an insane arrangement and we just move forward? Just like that. He extended his hand for a handshake, as if we were closing a normal business deal. Welcome to your new life, Signora Moretti. I stared at his outstretched hand, this impossible choice crystallizing into reality. 1 year, $400,000, and then freedom. I shook his hand. The moment our palms connected, I felt the weight of what I'd agreed to settle over me like one of the heavy gilt frames in the museums I curated. 1 year of lies, 1 year of pretending to love a criminal, 1 year of living with a permanent mark I never chose, but also 1 year of financial freedom, of saving Leonard, of proving I could survive anything. I'd authenticated forgeries before, spotted lies in brushstrokes and provenance documents. How hard could it be to authenticate a fake marriage? If you want to know how a Chicago art curator survives the Italian mafia with a permanent tattoo she never wanted, keep watching. This story gets dangerous. I woke up the next morning in Egyptian cotton sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and the first thing I did was stumble to the bathroom to examine the tattoo in proper light. The mirror was merciless, showing every detail of the delicate crown and Marcello's name in script so elegant it looked like calligraphy. This wasn't some drunk mistake at a sketchy parlor. This was professional work, fine line technique, probably took 2 hours minimum, which meant I'd been unconscious or compliant for 2 hours while someone permanently marked my skin. I touched it gently. No redness, no swelling. It had healed partially, which meant it was at least 3 days old, matching Marcello's timeline. Laser removal would take months, cost thousands, leave scarring. This mark was as permanent as the marriage certificate. At 9 sharp, Marcello's lawyer arrived, a severe Italian woman in her 50s named Patricia Volpa, who looked like she'd witnessed 1,000 criminal transactions and judged none of them. She laid the amended contract on the dining table, all 28 pages of Italian and English legal text. $400,000, she said in accented English, paid monthly over 12 months, contingent on public appearances and authentication services as needed. Separate residences maintained, no physical intimacy required, annulment guaranteed upon contract completion. Sign here, here, and here. I signed, my hand shaking slightly, while Patricia watched with the expression of someone who'd seen too many people sell themselves for money to be shocked anymore. After she left, I explored the wardrobe Marcello had mentioned. An entire walk-in closet filled with Italian designer pieces, Valentino dresses, Gucci suits, Prada shoes, Dolce & Gabbana evening gowns. Everything in my exact size, from casual wear to museum gala appropriate. He'd planned this meticulously, down to my measurements. I found Marcello in his study, surrounded by art books and auction catalogs, drinking espresso like it was a religious ritual. "Tell me about your business," I said, sitting across from him. "The real business, not the cover story." He studied me for a moment, then stood and gestured for me to follow. He led me through a hidden door I hadn't noticed, biometric scanner, his palm print, into a climate-controlled gallery that made my curator heart stop. A Caravaggio hung on one wall, The Taking of Christ, a version I'd never seen catalogued. Beside it, an Artemisia Gentileschi, Judith slaying Holofernes. Brushwork unmistakably hers, a Raphael sketch, a small Botticelli panel, pieces worth tens of millions casually displayed in his private collection. "I don't just steal art, Zora. I save it from people who don't appreciate it." He gestured to the Caravaggio. "This was rotting in a corrupt cardinal's basement in Naples. Never seen, never studied. Now it exists in proper conditions where it can be preserved." "You stole from the Vatican?" "I liberated from a man who used church position to hoard masterpieces. There's a difference." I wanted to be horrified. Instead, I was staring at the Artemisia, mentally cataloging techniques, analyzing composition, completely absorbed. "You're an art thief with a preservation complex," I said finally. "And you're a curator who's about to become very good at explaining how I acquired these pieces legally. We're a perfect match." Over espresso on the terrace, he drilled me on our cover story. We'd met at the International Art Symposium in Monaco 3 months ago. Not 3 days. I'd presented on Nazi-looted art repatriation. He'd been in the audience, impressed by my expertise. He'd pursued me. Romantic dinners, long conversations about Renaissance art, whirlwind romance, impulsive Monaco wedding. "And the tattoo?" I asked. "You insisted on it. Said it was more romantic than a ring that could be lost, more permanent than a piece of metal. Very poetic for someone who'd had too much Barolo." I called Jasmine from my new bedroom that evening, needing to hear a sane voice. "He tattooed you? Girl, that's not romantic, that's psychotic. You need to leave, now." "It's permanent, Jas. The tattoo, the contract, the year I agreed to. Running won't change any of it." "Then at least tell me you're safe, that he's not hurting you." "He's not. He's actually almost civilized. Terrifying, but civilized." That night, lying in my designer bedroom with Milan's lights glittering outside, I traced the tattoo and wondered how I'd authenticate a year of lies when I'd spent my career identifying truth. At midnight, sharp knocks on my door. Marcello's voice. "Pack a bag. We're leaving for Florence in the morning. Time to meet my mother. She doesn't know you exist yet." I sat up, heart racing. "Your mother doesn't know you got married?" "Not yet, surprise. Sleep well, Signora Moretti. Tomorrow you meet the real test." The helicopter ride to Tuscany felt like flying into a Renaissance painting. Rolling hills, cypress trees, lining ancient roads, medieval villages perched on hilltops. Marcello sat beside me with a tablet, drilling me on Italian phrases like I was cramming for an exam I couldn't afford to fail. Buongiorno, Mama, he repeated. Say it again, softer. You sound like you're ordering coffee, not greeting my mother. Buongiorno, Mama, I tried again, gentler. Better. Now this one. È un piacere conoscerla. Pleasure to meet you. Formal, respectful. I practiced until my American accent smoothed slightly, then moved to the phrase that made me want to throw up. Suo figlio mi ha rubato il cuore. Your son stole my heart. That one needs to sound genuine, Marcello said, watching me carefully. My mother has a radar for lies. She raised 4 children in a world where lying means death. Don't underestimate her. The villa appeared below us, a sprawling stone estate surrounded by olive groves and vineyard rows, 4 centuries old and radiating the kind of wealth that came from its generations of knowing exactly how to accumulate power. We landed on a manicured lawn where a woman in traditional black dress waited, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Mama Isabella Moretti was shorter than I expected, maybe 5'3", but she commanded space like she was 7 feet tall. Dark eyes assessed me from head to toe as we approached, and I felt every inadequacy she was cataloging. Wrong nationality, wrong background, wrong everything. So, this is the American, Marcello said in Italian, kissing both her cheeks. Mama, meet Zora, my wife. Your wife? Her voice was cold. My son married an American without telling me, without asking my blessing, without even introducing us first? It was impulsive, Marcello said smoothly. When you meet the right person, you don't wait. Isabella switched to rapid Italian, speaking directly to Marcello but loud enough for me to hear. She's pretty enough, I suppose. But can she cook? Can she give me grandchildren? What use is a pretty American who knows nothing of our ways? I understood enough. My Italian was better than I'd let on, thanks to years of Renaissance art research, and felt my face burn. Mama, Marcello's voice carried a warning. Zora speaks some Italian. Be kind. Isabella's eyes snapped to me. You understand what I said? Enough to know you're wondering if I'm worth the trouble, I said in careful Italian. I'm sorry we didn't tell you sooner. It was disrespectful. Her eyebrows rose slightly. At least your Italian is passable. Come. Sunday dinner is in 3 hours. 30 family members. You'll help me in the kitchen. The kitchen was massive, all stone and copper and the smell of ragu that had been simmering since dawn. Isabella handed me an apron without ceremony. Fresh pasta, she said. You know how to make it. No, ma'am. I grew up in Chicago. My mother worked night shifts. We ate takeout more than home cooking. I expected anger. Instead, Isabella paused, studying me. At least you don't lie. Most Americans usually pretend they know everything. She pushed flour and eggs toward me. Then watch, learn. In this family, we feed people. It's how we show love. By the time family started arriving, my hands were covered in flour, and I'd learned the basics of forming orecchiette. Sophia, Marcello's sister, squealed when she saw me, pulling me into a hug that felt genuinely warm. An American sister! Finally, she said in perfect English, grinning. I was so tired of Italian girls throwing themselves at Marcello. You're much more interesting. Matteo, the younger brother, was less welcoming. Silent, assessing, his eyes following me like I was a threat he was calculating how to neutralize. And Luca, the cousin, was too charming, too interested, kissing both my cheeks and holding my hands just a fraction too long. Welcome to the family, Bella. My cousin has excellent taste. Dinner was an interrogation disguised as conversation. Aunts asking about my family, uncles asking about my education, cousins asking how we met. I stuck to the rehearsed story, feeling Marcello's presence beside me like an anchor. Do you love my son? Isabella asked finally, the table going quiet. I looked at Marcello, his dark eyes meeting mine, with an intensity that made lying easier. Yes, I said. I love him. She loves me enough to permanently mark herself with my name, Marcello added, taking my hand and displaying the tattoo to the table. That's how I knew she was serious. After dinner, Sophia dragged me to her childhood bedroom, closing the door conspiratorially. Can I see it? The tattoo? I showed her. She traced it gently. In our world, this means you're claimed, she said quietly. Rings can be removed, annulled, forgotten. But ink, That's permanent. In our family, permanence matters. You can't take that off when things get hard. I'm learning that. She leaned closer. Also, be careful around Luca. He's charming but dangerous. He wants what Marcello has: power, respect, leadership. Don't give him ammunition. At sunset, I escaped to the terrace, needing air. Isabella found me there, 2 glasses of wine in her hands. You don't love him yet, she said, no question in her voice. I can see it. You're performing, convincingly, but performing. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. But here's the truth, you will love him. My son has a way of making people loyal, making them need him. It's his gift and his curse. She handed me the wine. Just pray you survive becoming a Moretti. Not everyone does. Venice appeared through morning mist like a watercolor painting coming into focus. Gold domes, Gothic palaces, water reflecting centuries of history. Our private water taxi glided through the Grand Canal while Marcello pointed out buildings with the enthusiasm of someone who actually loved art instead of just stealing it. That's Cadoro, he said, gesturing to a Gothic palace with a marble tracery. 15th century, used to be completely covered in gold leaf. And there, Palazzo Venier de Leoni now houses the Guggenheim collection. Peggy Guggenheim bought it for practically nothing after the war. You really do love this stuff, I said, watching him come alive talking about architecture. I have a degree in art history from Oxford. The stealing came later, out of necessity. The appreciation was always there. Hotel Daniele was obscenely luxurious. Our suite overlooked the lagoon with views of San Giorgio Maggiore. I was struggling with the zipper on my dress when Marcello appeared in the doorway, already in his tuxedo. Let me, he said, and I felt his fingers on my spine, pulling the zipper up slowly, deliberately. In the mirror, I caught his expression, something darker than professional interest, something that made my breath catch. You look like a Botticelli painting, he said quietly. Renaissance beauty. The collectors tonight won't know whether to buy art or stare at you. That's the point, right? Sell the performance? Right, the performance. He stepped back quickly, like the proximity had burned him. Palazzo Contarini was filled with the kind of people who made their money in ways they'd never discuss at dinner parties. Elite collectors, wealthy criminals pretending to be businessmen, all gathered to bid on art with questionable provenances. And in the corner, watching our entrance with predatory interest, was a man Marcello stiffened beside. Giovanni Baroni, he murmured. Sicilian, controls art trafficking south of Rome, hates that I exist. Don't make eye contact. Too late. Baroni was already staring at me, assessing, calculating. The centerpiece painting was attributed to Artemisia Gentileschi, Judith and Holofernes, the violent biblical scene she'd painted multiple times. The auction house claimed 17th century provenance, Florentine origin, recently discovered in a private estate. Bidding started at 1 million euros. Marcello raised his paddle immediately. A Russian oligarch countered. Back and forth, the price climbing, 1.5, 1.8, 2 million. At 2.3 million, I leaned close to Marcello and whispered, let him have it. It's a fake. He didn't question, didn't hesitate, just lowered his paddle and watched the Russian win with a triumphant smile. After the auction, collectors gathered for champagne. The Russian was already showing off his Artemisia to admirers when I approached Marcello's group. Your wife cost you a masterpiece, someone said to Marcello. My wife saved me from buying a 19th century copy, I said clearly, loud enough for nearby collectors to hear. The brushwork is competent, but the pigment analysis would show modern materials. Artemisia used specific earth tones, ground her own paints. That painting uses Prussian blue, which wasn't invented until 1704, decades after she died. The room went quiet. The Russian's face drained of color. You're certain? Marcello asked, playing his part. I'm a curator. It's literally my job to spot forgeries. That's a good copy, probably worth 50,000, not 2.3 million. By the time we left for Harry's bar, the Russian was demanding a refund and the auction house was scrambling. Collectors congratulated Zora on her eye, treating her with the first genuine respect she'd received in this world. You just saved someone 2.3 million and made me look brilliant, Marcello said at the bar, handing me Prosecco. Every collector here now knows I have the smartest wife in the room. Is that what I am? Your authenticity weapon? You're much more than that. But yes, that's part of why I chose you. The gondola, ride back to the hotel, was quieter, Venice at night wrapping around us like a conspiracy. Water lapping against ancient stone, distant music from canal-side restaurants, the city existing outside of time. "I've been watching your career for 2 years," Marcello said finally. "You authenticated a Caravaggio I stole from a corrupt Vatican cardinal in 2022. Your analysis was so precise it actually helped me sell it for triple what I expected. You're better than you know, Zora. That's why you chose me, professional stalking. I chose you because you see the truth in art. I needed someone who could see truth in people too. Someone who wouldn't be fooled by performance or provenance or pretty stories." He turned to face me, the gondola rocking gently. "Someone who could see me clearly and decide if I was worth the risk." "And am I? Seeing you clearly?" "Getting closer every day." We passed under the bridge of sighs and he kissed me, slow, deliberate, his hand cupping my face like I was something precious instead of something purchased. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he smiled slightly. "That was for the gondolier. He expects romance under the bridge." "Right, the performance." But neither of us believed it anymore. 3 months into the arrangement, I stopped noticing when the performance ended and reality began. Morning espresso on the terrace became routine, Marcello reading Italian newspapers while I sketched authentication notes. Comfortable silence stretching between us like we'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. He'd teach me Italian idioms over breakfast. I'd correct his English grammar, both of us pretending we weren't memorizing each other's patterns. Opera at La Scala, his hand finding mine in the dark during Puccini's most devastating aria. Cooking lessons with Mama Isabella, who'd stopped testing me and started actually teaching. Her approval grudging but real. Sunday dinners where I no longer felt like an outsider, where aunts asked my opinion on art acquisitions and uncles treated me like family. The Uffizi Gallery after hours was Marcello's gift for my authentication work on a Titian he'd acquired. He'd bribed the curator for private access, and we walked through Renaissance masterpieces with only security cameras as witnesses. Standing before Botticelli's Birth of Venus, the goddess emerging from her shell in impossible beauty, Marcello moved close behind me. "L'amor che muove il sole e l'altre stelle," he quoted softly. "The love that moves the sun and other stars." "Are you quoting Marcello Alighieri to me, Marcello Moretti? Would it work if I did?" I turned to face him, his dark eyes reflecting gallery lighting and something deeper, something that made my carefully constructed walls crack. "Depends. Are you trying to seduce me with 14th century poetry? Is it working?" He kissed me, surrounded by Botticellis, and I kissed him back, both of us knowing security footage would show this moment, both of us not caring anymore whether it was performance or truth. Lake Como weekend was supposed to be for show, romantic getaway photos for his business associates. But late at night on the villa's dock, wine and stars and water lapping against ancient stone, Marcello pulled off his shirt and turned his back to me. The tattoo was massive, Marcello's Inferno rendered in intricate detail across his entire back, circles of hell descending from his shoulders to his waist, each one containing images I didn't want to interpret too closely. "I got this in prison," he said quietly. "Russian tattoo artist. Each circle represents something I've done, someone I've killed, lines I've crossed. It's a map of my sins." I traced the outermost circle, feeling scars beneath ink. "Do you regret it? The violence?" "I regret that you have to see it, that you know what I am." He turned to face me. "But I don't regret protecting my family. I'd do it again. Does that make me a monster?" "It makes you honest. Most men would lie about their darkness. You wear yours on your skin." He told me about his father that night, killed by Giovanni Baroni over a disputed Caravaggio when Marcello was 19, how he'd taken over the family business overnight, built the empire, eliminated threats, never had time for anything except survival and strategy. "You're the first person in 15 years I've wanted to show my actual self to," he said. "Not the boss, not the collector, just me. The one who reads poetry and cries at opera and stares at Artemisia paintings like they might contain the meaning of life. Even if your actual self terrifies me. Especially then. Fear means you see clearly. You're not blinded by performance or pretty words or the luxury. You see exactly what I am, and you're still here." Sophia cornered me the next day while Marcello was on a business call. "You're falling for him. Don't deny it, I can see it. It's the arrangement. I'm playing a role. Zora, I've seen my brother with women. Models, socialites, heiresses. He's always professional, always controlled." She touched my arm gently. "He's never looked at anyone the way he looks at you, like you're the only real thing in his world." That night, lying in my separate bedroom, staring at the ceiling, I admitted what I'd been denying for weeks. The contract said no physical intimacy, but my body didn't care about contractual terms. Every accidental touch felt electric. Every loaded glance across dinner tables made my breath catch. Every goodnight at separate bedroom doors felt like tearing something essential in half. At 2 a.m., sharp knocks shattered my sleepless spiraling. I opened the door to find Marcello, barefoot in pajama pants, hair disheveled, looking more vulnerable than I'd ever seen him. "I can't do this anymore," he said, voice rough. "Separate bedrooms, professional distance, pretending I don't want you constantly, it's not working. Either tell me to leave right now or let me stay. Your choice, Zora, but I need you to choose." I stared at him. This dangerous, complicated man who quoted Marcello and stole Caravaggios and wore his sins on his skin and looked at me like I was a Botticelli come to life. "The contract says..." "Fuck the contract. I'm asking what you want." What I wanted was to pull him inside and stop pretending we were just business partners. What I wanted was to trace every circle of his inferno and kiss away the regret. What I wanted was to make this arrangement as real as the permanent ink on my finger. "Stay," I whispered. He was inside before I finished the word. I woke up alone, in tangled sheets, morning light streaming through windows I'd barely noticed in the dark. The space beside me was cold, and on the pillow was a note, in Marcello's precise handwriting. "Business in Naples back in 48 hours. M." 48 hours became 72 with no contact. My calls went to voicemail. Sophia claimed she didn't know what was happening, but her eyes said otherwise, worried, scared, the kind of fear that came from knowing exactly what Naples business meant in their world. He returned at 3 a.m. on the fourth night. I heard the penthouse door, heard stumbling footsteps, and found him in the hallway. Blood soaking his Armani suit, knuckles split and bruised, face spattered with crimson that wasn't his. "Don't look at me right now." His voice was hollow, dead, and he stumbled toward his bathroom. I followed anyway, watched him strip off the ruined suit with shaking hands, climb into the shower still wearing his watch, and let water run red down the drain. Blood swirled around his feet like Caravaggio's darkest paintings come to life. "What happened in Naples?" I asked from the doorway. He didn't turn around. "A member of our family betrayed us, sold information to Barone about our roots, our operations, our weaknesses. He was dealt with." "Dealt with? You mean killed?" "I mean executed, there's a difference." "Not to me. Not to someone who believes in law and justice and due process." He finally faced me, water streaming over the Inferno tattoo on his back. "You knew what I was when you agreed to this. Don't act shocked now." "I knew it intellectually, as an abstract concept. This, seeing you covered in someone's blood, is different." "What did you think the tattoo meant, Zora? That I collect pretty paintings and host dinner parties? I'm a criminal. I kill when necessary to protect what's mine. That's not new information." "And you feel nothing? No guilt? No remorse?" Long silence, just water running, diluting red to pink to clear. "I feel what I have to feel to survive. Guilt is a luxury I can't afford. Neither is hesitation or mercy or second-guessing. That's how you die in my world." I returned to my room, my separate room, the one I'd abandoned 3 nights ago, and stared at the tattoo on my finger. Called Jasmine because I needed to hear a voice from my old life, my real life, the one where people didn't come home covered in blood. "I'm in love with a murderer," I said when she answered, no preamble. "Then come home. You can still walk away. The contract doesn't matter if you're not safe." "Can I? This tattoo says I can't. This year says I can't. And my heart says I don't want to, even though my brain is screaming at me to run." "Zora, listen to yourself. You're making excuses to stay with someone who kills people. He kills to protect his family, to survive in a world I don't understand, but can't condemn from the outside." I hung up before she could argue, before she could say all the logical things I already knew. 3 days of cold distance followed. We shared the penthouse like hostile roommates, passing in hallways without speaking, attending necessary events and performing flawlessly, dying quietly in separate bedrooms. Marcello didn't apologize, didn't explain further, didn't try to bridge the gap I'd created. "This is who I am," he said on the 3rd night, finding me on the terrace. "Accept it or don't, but don't pretend you didn't know. Don't make me into a monster because you finally saw clearly what you've been willfully blind to." I'm trying to reconcile the man who quotes Marcello Alighieri with the man who comes home covered in blood. They're the same man. They've always been the same man. You just wanted to believe otherwise. He left me there with my moral crisis and a glass of wine that tasted like regret. The next afternoon, Luca found me alone in the penthouse while Marcello was handling business. He moved too close, smiled too warmly, touched my shoulder like he had the right. "You look unhappy, Bella. Trouble in paradise already." "Just tired. Long week." "My cousin doesn't appreciate you, doesn't see what he has." His hand moved to my face, thumb brushing my cheek. "I would. I'd appreciate every moment with a woman like you." I stepped back. "Luca, I'm married to your cousin. A marriage of convenience. Everyone knows it. You think we don't talk. You think we don't know about the contract, the arrangement, the American curator he bought for a year." He moved closer again. "When you get tired of pretending, when you want something real, I'll be waiting." Sophia zipped up my dress for the Florence gala, her hands gentle but her voice concerned. "Whatever happened between you two, work it out. You're good together. I've never seen him this human." "He came home covered in blood, Sophia. That's not human, that's monster." "He's both. We all are in this family." She turned me to face her. "But he chose you. That means something." Downstairs, Luca intercepted me before I could reach Marcello's car. "Ride with me, Bella. Give Marcello space to think. He needs to clear his head before facing Barone tonight." I should have said no, should have recognized the manipulation. But Marcello and I were barely speaking, and the idea of an hour in cold silence felt unbearable. I got in Luca's car. Palazzo Pitti was magnificent. Renaissance palace turned art gallery, 200 guests in evening wear. The European elite pretending they'd acquired their wealth legally. Barone's family occupied one corner like a hostile delegation. Giovanni himself watching Marcello with predatory patience. The centerpiece was a Klimt, portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer III, Nazi-looted from Vienna in 1941, recently recovered from a Swiss bank vault. The auction house needed authentication before proceeding. They needed me. I examined it under proper lighting, checked provenance documents, confirmed what my expertise already knew. It's genuine, stolen from the Bloch-Bauer family during the Anschluss. This should be repatriated, not auctioned. Marcello's plan surprised me. He bid aggressively, intending to buy it and return it to the surviving family members. "A redemption play," Sophia whispered. "He's trying to prove he's more than a thief." The bidding war with Barone was vicious. 3 million, 4 million, 4.7 million. Marcello won, and Barone approached during champagne reception, smile sharp as broken glass. "You're going soft, Moretti. Buying art to give away? Your American wife has made you weak, sentimental. It's pathetic." "I'm not weak. I'm wealthy enough to afford principles. You should try it sometime." At 10:47 p.m., the lights cut out, then gunfire, rapid, professional, deafening, in the enclosed gallery. Guests screaming, diving for cover. I saw muzzle flashes, heard bullets destroying priceless Renaissance frescoes, felt hands grab me roughly. "Come with me now!" Tony, Marcello's consigliere, dragging me toward a side exit. 8 men, Sicilian accents, targeting Marcello with military precision. I saw Matteo go down, shoulder blooming red, still firing. Saw Marcello moving through chaos with terrifying efficiency, executing attackers with headshots so precise they looked choreographed. Tony shoved me into an armored car. Through the window I saw Marcello, covered in blood again, still fighting, surrounded by bodies. "We have to help him." "He's doing his job. My job is protecting you." The car peeled away, Florence streets blurring past, Italian police sirens converging on Palazzo Pitti. The safe house was a nondescript apartment in Florence's outskirts. Sophia was already there, pale and shaking. Matteo arrived with a field medic treating his shoulder, and then Marcello, fury radiating off him like heat, blood spattered but uninjured. How did Barone know our security details, our room assignments, our guard rotation? He slammed his fist on the table. The attack was too precise. Someone leaked information. Luca appeared with a laptop. Digital forensics traced the leak. Email sent from this device 3 days ago. Subject line: Moretti Security, Palazzo Pitti event. Detailed layouts, guard positions, timing. He turned the screen toward me. "Your laptop, Zora." The room went silent. I stared at the email, sent from my account containing information I'd never accessed to an address I didn't recognize. "I didn't send that. I would never." Marcello's stare was ice. "The evidence says otherwise." You think I betrayed you after everything, after the past 3 months? I think someone used your laptop, or I think you've been playing me from the start, playing all of us." His voice was cold, dead, the warmth I'd fallen in love with completely gone. "I think maybe the American curator was too convenient, too perfect, too willing to overlook my world." I was locked in a room, tears streaming, staring at the tattoo that suddenly felt like a brand instead of a promise, still wearing his name while he believed I'd tried to get him killed. Sophia tried to intervene, pounding on Marcello's door. "She didn't do this, you know her." "I don't know anyone, that's the problem." His voice carried through walls. "Get her out of my sight before I do something I regret." At dawn, Tony appeared with my passport and a thick envelope. "Go now, before this gets worse. Marcello won't hurt you, but Luca is pushing for interrogation, real interrogation, the kind that leaves scars. He thinks I betrayed him. I know you didn't, but evidence is evidence, and he's too angry to think clearly." Tony pressed the envelope into my hands. "Cash, ticket to Chicago, new phone. Go home, Zora. Run while you can." I took one last look at the closed door separating me from Marcello, at the family I'd almost belonged to, at the life I'd almost believed in. Then I ran. Tony drove through pre-dawn Milan in silence, taking back routes away from the Penthouse, away from everything I'd almost belonged to. At Malpensa Airport, he handed me the envelope and finally spoke. "For what it's worth, I don't think you betrayed him." "Then why isn't he here stopping me?" "Because he's afraid he's wrong. And if he's wrong, he's hurt you unforgivably. That's not something Marcello knows how to face." He checked my ticket. "6-hour layover in Paris. Don't come back, Zora. He'll figure out the truth eventually, but by then you need to be gone. Safe." The envelope held 50,000 euros in cash, a prepaid phone, and a ticket home. Blood money, I thought, payment for services rendered, and a marriage dissolved. Paris Charles de Gaulle was purgatory. 6 hours in uncomfortable chairs, staring at the tattoo on my finger, Googling laser removal clinics, 3 to 5 sessions, significant scarring possible, pain level, severe. I opened the booking page twice, couldn't bring myself to complete it, couldn't erase his name even though he'd erased me from his life. I called Jasmine from a bathroom stall, crying too hard to care about the stairs. "I'm coming home, it's over." "Thank God, when do you land? I'll pick you up." Chicago felt like returning to a life that didn't fit anymore. Jasmine took me to her apartment, settled me on her couch with tea and blankets like I was recovering from the flu instead of a shattered heart. "You're safe now. That's what matters." Am I? I left my heart in Milan with a man who thinks I betrayed him. I don't know how to be safe from that. 2 weeks of hollow existence followed. I returned to the Chicago Institute of Fine Arts, told HR I'd completed my consulting contract early, resumed my curator position like the past months hadn't happened. Dr. Whitmore asked about Italy over coffee. Educational sabbatical, learned a lot about Renaissance authentication techniques. His eyes were too knowing, too kind. And the tattoo? Colleagues are asking. Henna, souvenir, it'll fade. But it wouldn't fade. Every morning I woke up wearing Marcello's name, permanent reminder of everything I'd lost. Day 15, the first message arrived from an unknown number. "Zora, I was wrong. Luca was the traitor. He used your laptop while you slept. Confessed everything before I dealt with him. I'm sorry. Please come back. M." I stared at my phone for an hour. He'd killed his own cousin, discovered the truth, and now expected me to just forgive, return, resume our arrangement like he hadn't accused me of attempted murder. "What does sorry mean, from a man who kills?" Jasmine asked when I showed her. "I don't know." I deleted the message without responding. More messages came like clockwork. Day 17. "I should have trusted you. I should have believed you. I failed you." Day 20. "The tattoo was supposed to bind you to me. Instead, I pushed you away. I understand if you hate me." Day 25. "I won't contact you again, but know this. You were the only real thing in my life. I'm sorry I destroyed it." I read them all, saved them all, responded to none. What was there to say? That I loved him despite everything? That I understood why he hadn't trusted me? That I'd run instead of fighting for us? All true, all irrelevant. Dr. Whitmore found me crying in my office on day 28, surrounded by Renaissance authentication files that reminded me too much of Marcello's private gallery. "You've been crying. every day since you returned. What happened in Italy? I fell in love with someone I shouldn't have, and then I lost him. Did you lose him? Or did you run before he could find you? The question haunted me through sleepless nights and hollow days. Had I lost Marcello, or had I chosen safety over the terrifying vulnerability of staying? At midnight on day 30, my phone rang. Sophia, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Zora, you need to come back, please. There's been an ambush. Baroni's men, Marcello's in surgery, 5 bullets, they don't know if he'll make it. My entire world stopped. Is he alive? For now, barely. She sobbed. He keeps saying your name. Even unconscious, sedated, he's calling for you. Zora, I know he hurt you. I know you have every right to never speak to us again. But if you have any feelings left, any at all, please come back. Let him see you one more time. Let him know you're safe before he... I was already pulling out my laptop, booking the next flight to Rome. I'm coming. Tell him I'm coming. Tell him to hold on. I booked the 11 a.m. flight to Rome at 2 a.m, hands shaking so badly I mistyped my credit card number twice. 8 hours until departure. 8 hours to decide if I was really doing this, flying back to a man who'd accused me of betrayal, back to a world that had almost killed me, back to everything I'd run from. I packed mechanically, staring at the tattoo between folding clothes. He thought I betrayed him. He should have trusted me. But the counter-argument came just as quickly. I ran instead of fighting for us. I chose safety over staying. Who betrayed who? Jasmine drove me to O'Hare in dawn silence, finally speaking as we pulled up to departures. Are you sure about this? No, but I love him. And love means staying even when it's hard. Even when you're terrified. Even when the smart thing is running. He's a killer, Zora. And I'm a woman who authenticates stolen art for criminals. We're both morally compromised. At least we can be compromised together. I grabbed my bag. Besides, he's my killer. That has to count for something. The 10-hour flight was torture. Every minute wondering if he was still alive, if I'd arrived to find Sophia crying over a body instead of a hospital bed. I read his messages obsessively, traced the tattoo until the woman next to me asked if I was okay. The permanence I'd feared, the mark I'd wanted to erase, was the only thing keeping me connected to him across an ocean and all my carefully constructed walls. Rome's Gemelli Hospital smelled like antiseptic and grief. Mama Isabella sat in the waiting room in traditional black rosary beads moving through her fingers with practiced desperation. She looked up when I entered, surprise flickering across her face. You came. I didn't think you would. Is he alive? Surgery lasted 8 hours. 5 bullets, chest, abdomen, shoulder. They removed 3, left 2 too close to vital organs. Her voice cracked. They think he'll survive, but the next 48 hours are critical. She gripped my hands. He keeps saying your name, even unconscious, even sedated. Zora! Over and over. Sophia appeared, pulling me into a fierce hug. He needs to see you, to know you came back. That might be what keeps him fighting. The ICU was all machines and monitors, and in the center of it all was Marcello. Broken, pale, so still he barely looked alive. Tubes and wires connected him to equipment I didn't want to understand. I took his hand carefully, afraid of hurting him, afraid of this being the last time I touched him. I'm here. I'm sorry I ran. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to stay and fight. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused, glazed with pain medication, but searching for me. Zora! Not dream? Not a dream. I'm here, and I'm not leaving. Not this time. I should have trusted you. I'm sorry. We're both sorry. Now shut up and heal so we can fight about this properly when you're not hooked up to machines. A weak smile. Bossy, I miss that. I stayed 48 hours straight, sleeping in an uncomfortable chair that Matteo eventually replaced with a recliner, holding Marcello's hand through fever spikes and medication, adjustments and the slow crawl towards stability. Mama brought me food I barely tasted. You love him. Really love him. Not performance, not contract. Real love. I tried not to. Spent weeks trying to logic my way out of it. I failed completely. Good. He needs someone who sees him as a man, not just a boss. Someone who will fight with him instead of just following orders. She squeezed my shoulder. You're stronger than you think, Figlia. You came back. That's the hardest part. Day 5, Marcello was sitting up, color returning, arguing with doctors about discharge timelines. I shooed everyone out, needing to have this conversation alone. Luca confessed everything before he faced justice. Used your laptop while you slept, sent the information to Barone, planned the whole thing. He wanted me dead so he could take over. You killed your cousin. I executed a traitor who tried to kill me and framed the woman I love. His dark eyes met mine steadily. Yes, I killed him. I'd do it again. Does that make you want to run? You love me? Did you think I tattooed random women's names on my body for fun? He struggled to lift his hospital gown with his good arm, wincing. Right above my heart. Got it the same night I marked you. Just never had the courage to show you. There, in delicate script matching the crown on my finger. Zora. You're insane. Completely insane. Probably. Will you stay anyway? I looked at him, bandaged, broken, still dangerous, even in a hospital bed. Still the man who quoted Marcello Alighieri and stole Caravaggio's and looked at me like I was the only real thing in his world. Stay? I need to do more than stay. I need to help finish this. Baroni sent those men. The Sicilians won't stop until you're dead, and I'm not losing you again. So tell me, how do we end this war? Because I'm done running, Marcello. I'm ready to fight. I stayed in Italy, rented an apartment near Gemelli Hospital, and learned what it meant to be a Moretti when the patriarch was temporarily weakened. Matteo handled enforcement, Sophia managed legitimate businesses, and I, surprisingly, became the strategic weapon they hadn't known they needed. Baroni's empire ran on art sales. I used my curator expertise to analyze every major piece he'd moved in the past 5 years, cross-referencing provenance documents, examining auction records, and I found it. His primary income source was forged Caravaggios. Excellent forgeries, nearly perfect, but not quite. I contacted every buyer privately, showed them the evidence, wrong pigments, brushwork inconsistencies, modern canvas aging. Within 3 months, Barone's reputation was destroyed, his buyers demanding refunds, his credibility shattered. When he called requesting a summit meeting in Venice, I insisted on attending. Your wife is destroying my business, Barone said across the conference table, fury barely contained. You tried to kill my husband. I'm returning the favor legally. I slid? Authentication reports across polished wood. Every Caravaggio you've sold in 5 years is fake. I've informed the buyers, the authorities, and the legitimate auction houses. You're finished in the art world. Marcello sat beside me, still healing but present. Zora speaks for our family in this matter. I negotiated terms. Barone kept Sicily, Moretti's kept mainland Italy, zero overlap in art markets. Violate the agreement, and I'd expose his entire operation to Interpol with documentation they couldn't ignore. Your wife has teeth, Barone admitted grudgingly. You chose well, Moretti. Better than you deserved. 6 months after the ambush, we renewed our vows at the Tuscan villa. 50 family members, traditional Catholic ceremony, conducted entirely in Italian, real this time. Ti scelgo, I said, holding Marcello's hands. Ogni giorno, anche quando è difficile, soprattutto quando è difficile. I choose you, every day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Sei la mia Beatrice, Marcello responded, voice breaking slightly. Mi hai salvato dal mio inferno. You are my Beatrice. You saved me from my own inferno. We showed our matching tattoos, his name on my finger, my name above his heart. And Mama cried while Sophia cheered. We're permanently marked. Might as well make it official. Moretti art galleries opened across 4 cities, Milan, Florence, Rome, Chicago, legitimate authentication and acquisition, though I maintained carefully documented consulting for the family's gray market operations. My ethics stayed intact by handling only the legal side, leaving the complicated pieces to others. Dr. Whitmore met Marcello at the Chicago gallery opening, assessing him with academic precision. So, you're the man who stole my protégé. She stole herself. I just gave her a reason to stay. Jasmine pulled me aside during the reception. He still scares me, but you're happy. I can see it. That's what matters. 5 years later, our Tuscan villa echoed with different sounds. Twin daughters Francesca and Isabella, age 5, arguing in Italian about whose turn it was to help Nonna make pasta. I was curating a major Artemisia Gentileschi exhibition at the Uffizi, legitimate this time, my name on the catalog as guest curator. Remember the first time I brought you here? Marcello asked, watching our daughters play among Renaissance masterpieces during a private family viewing. You were terrified of me. I'm still terrified of you. You're just terrifying in ways I've learned to love. I traced the tattoo of my name above his heart, visible because he'd unbuttoned his collar in the gallery's heat. Permanent marks for permanent love. No regrets? Only that it took me so long to choose you over fear that I ran when I should have stayed and fought. You came back, that's what mattered. At the villa that evening, Mama taught Francesca and Isabella to roll gnocchi, while Sophia announced her engagement to thunderous approval. Matteo, recovered but scarred, played with the girls with surprising gentleness. The family I'd accidentally married into had become the family I'd chosen to build. On the terrace at sunset, Marcello pulled me close. We started with a tattoo I didn't choose and a marriage I didn't remember, and built something real through trust, forgiveness, and stubborn Italian persistence. That's not Italian persistence. That's just you being unable to let go. True. But you're marked as mine. He kissed the crown tattoo on my finger. Where else would you go? I looked at our daughters through the window, at Mama teaching them traditions I now understood, at the family I'd earned through staying when running would have been easier. Nowhere. This is home now. You are home. 5 years from that drunk Monaco wedding, 10 years from now, 20, I'd still be wearing his name on my skin, still choosing him every morning, still building permanence from what started as performance. Some marks were meant to last forever. Some loves were worth the terror. If you loved Zora and Marcello's impossible love story, like this video, subscribe for more dark romance, and comment. Would you have forgiven him for not trusting you? Would you have returned after running? Let me know. And if you're ready for more mafia romance, hit that notification bell. The hottest dark romance story is coming next. She woke up on a private island with a wedding band burned into her skin. See you there.